What's up, guys? Steven here today, and I was gonna just hammer this out real quick. Just got back from the Apple Store. So apparently my MacBook keyboard has been fucking for I think about 2.5, 3.5, maybe almost a month now. The keyboard just suddenly stopped responding, right? So I've been sitting here or every day just lugging the fucking computer all over the house with like this dongle that I have where I can essentially hook up USB accessories. So everywhere I go in the house, I have to like trudge along this fucking mouse and keyboard, and it's such a pain in the ass. Wasn't able to get it covered, but they mentioned it being able to be done at 6, so that's kind of what I'm gearing for. But in the passing, it's kind of funny. I was on the way back and was fucking around with like Robin Hood and shit, and I started noticing how like there's a lot of like fluctuations in prices, just simply like short-term bullshit due to the rise in corona inflammations. I'll just call it that way because, let's be very honest, it's actually just a fucking flu. I've been calling it the super flu because it's pretty much that. Reason being that, from my understanding, what I've gleaned from it, it tends to be polymorphic in nature, meaning that it's essentially based, or its attack vector is predicating around what we have dubbed as a pre-existing condition, which is essentially why, if you kind of think about it, most of our treatment and care plans currently are revolving around what you can dub around allergy-based care, right? So it's the main gist of them is essentially tied around seeing if there's any sort of allergies that you are currently recurring ailing from, and essentially if there is a direct solution for them. If not, if there's a way of preventing you from the immediate triggers that bring them about. So how I simplify it is like, imagine your body is made of pores, right? We all know this. You're one giant fucking balloon. And this balloon is made of, they're tiny micro pico even, like dots that make up this balloon. This is why you're able to like breathe even when your nose and your mouth are still covered in some way, right? Now, what happens is, at any particular point in the body, if the hole is vastly or much bigger than it should be in relation to all the other holes in the area, you have what's called an attack vector or vulnerability, in however you want to put it. What this means is a bacteria, or let's call it an external agent, can essentially, through the, if you want to call it, when Goku and Vegeta come together, the fusion, there you go. Through the fusion of a particular set of environmental geared variables, can essentially, which are pretty much typically referred to as pathogens. Essentially, we usually refer to this as like the delivery mechanism, but it's more so should be seen as the outer coating, if you will, right? So Cell had a fucking shell that through his evolution phases became thicker and stronger, right? One phase, one evolution, the form had a tail, right? And then at one point the tail actually dropped or retracted into his body and became like this other piece of layer that added to the coating of the armor or tough skin that was Cell. This is Dragon Ball Z, people, by the way. So now to the bacteria bit, it's essentially just like that. No water-filled environment. It's going to be oxygen-based. Maybe there's going to be like some sort of like gust or air, right? And so the breeze and what you breathe through and the particular elements of nature that are to deal with that respective elements will be the way through which it will find its way to that whole. Now, you can extrapolate this for other elements too, or different environmental conditions, right? If it's very muddy, it's going to be dealing with the gravel and dirt, etc., etc. If it's hot, it's going to be dealing with the carbon and the ash, etc., etc. Right? Now, what's important is once that external agent finds its way to this larger than typical, or larger than the other, or larger than normal whole, it's gonna take advantage of it. It's gonna exploit it, right? So it'll just like it'll dig its way in, try to just enlarge. What it's literally just doing is trying to enlarge the whole, right? This is typically done by, in one way or the other, just exciting the cell, inflaming it, pushing against it, right? Until it perforates it. And then what happens is it calls its hombres and friends, and they come in droves. And then what happens is there is a fucking underground railroad tunnel that is being bored, grounded, built from that hole to the what I call nearest central processing unit that it can access or that it's close to. So, for example, if it's your hand, it's typically around the point where, if you look at it on a structural level, there is a natural bottlenecking of energy. So that means oxygen, not just oxygen, blood, right? Like the connection of muscles, muscle fibers, etc. Typically, these are at the joints, right? So if there's a hole here, it's going to try to find its way here, right? Because this is where there is the most accumulation of bloods. And then from there, because there is the most accumulation, it's essentially the easiest way to spread its way across the other areas of your body. Hence the whole central processing unit, right? You can think of the fucking connection of like the highways when they meet at particular city parts in the cities, right? Just that bringing together is what allows it to like jump into other places. Now, the reason why I mentioned this was because of the pre-existing conditions you have. There is a higher propensity that once it finds its way to a CPU, it will just try to link up to the other holes found or vulnerability that are present due to your existing condition. This is why being healthy is so fucking paramount to like anything. Like if you're a nurse and you're supposed to be taking care of people, you would think that actually being in shape is like a minimum pre-requirement to the profession, right? Because how else would you be able to demonstrate that higher level understanding of insight, of quality care, if your particular use of the physical resources available to you is not being exemplified or used in a way that is shown or that is showing superior understanding or superior care or superior reverence, if anything, of what you've been given, right? And it's the same thing for everyone else, right? So just running every day or running just a mile, right? Or fucking working out 3 times a day goes so much further than you might ever even begin to imagine. Because the fact that you're doing things that are always pushing to the forefront true wellness and a true understanding in an empathetic manner of just how synergistic the heart plays a part in all of the aspect of the body, and then even further the growth that is enabled when your mindset is meshed together with that force. It makes such a beauty and a difference in everything that you do, right? So I was kind of like just thinking about all this, and I just realized that with that, I guess like there's gonna be like a huge like capital infusion, not in the sense of like people just pouring money, but in the sense that there's just gonna be not only is that gonna be true, but the fact that there's just gonna be so much more attention given to the healthcare field, right? So like while on Robin, I was like, whoa, so who's probably gonna be doing good, right? And I'm like, as I don't like the word fundamentalist, but I believe that if you distill whatever it is you're doing at its root nascent essence, right? At its root essence, like then you know the thing, right? If you know that graphic design or art is essentially just a pure spiritual almost understanding of the raw primal geometric elements, then a harnessing of being able to like manifest them into reality, whether it's drawing it over and over, over and over, over and over until you can even do it with your eyes closed, is the fucking art form that is design or art, right? And it's the same mindset that you can apply to like everything else. So I was thinking like, well, there is a solution out there for this, whether the news or media focuses on it or not. So then what are the different elements that apply to creating a solution, right? Looks like this thing has a thick skin when it comes to like pH fluctuation, right? Tends to not do so well when you, like all things, when you put it in like heat, right? But it tends to do really well when you put it in salt, right? When you, not salt, but when you make things tart or toxic, because that's where it's able to like really kind of just self-cultivate and find those fucking pre-existing conditions, those holes, because you're moving at a lower frequency, and so it starts being able to take advantage of that. And then I was like, okay, so what are common household products that I can buy that would make this up? Well, Lysol is one, right? Bleach, right? And then I started thinking, well, you could also even just get the full swing and just go pharma, right? Any laboratory is essentially gonna be just fucking banking because there's gonna be a lot of labs run. You could just be out there hunting for a good P&L, and then you'll do well. Others are also another approach is looking for the, as I was kind of doing and kind of how I like to do it, are the very raw. It's like the spices. What is the spices that really go into making this cake? So I was like, okay, the solution probably has to be for a solution, meaning a vaccine. It most likely has to be able to deal with inflammation. So it has to like be able to like, the hole is big, so it finds a way to make it smaller. And you typically do it when someone has a fever. What do? You give them water, right? So it's a coolant in nature, but then at the same time, on some level, it's basic, like bleach. So the mix of those is the chemical or substance that are probably most likely typically doing well. So I was like, this is a lot. And then I was like, oh shit, I should probably write this shit down. And then that's how this video came about. So if it's a fucking blurb and you're like, what the fuck? There you go. Now you know why. Anyways, it's my brother's birthday. He is 34. 34 young man. As you could probably hear, the fucking food has been there waiting for me. Finally got this shit out. Hope you guys got something out of this. Oh yeah, also typical shit hospital, right? Like the care shit. So like plastic based companies, right? Like syringes, beakers, right? Renew things that can be easily recyclables. So those type of manufacturing companies are probably going to be doing really well too. Manufacturing material type companies. Hope you guys got something out of this, and as always, swag the fuck out.
Wow.
Happy birthday. Look, look, look at this guy. Look at him, just chilling like a villain. Probably trying to wait for his babe. Trying to find his woman. He's probably like, babe, where you at, babe? Are you in there, babe? I will come for you. Just say my name, babe. I will break down this window right now, babe. Just say my name. Say my name, babe. Look at that robot face. A Sodom. This robot is alive. Then I go jungle juice. I just started being like, fuck, trying to play correctly. Not being afraid to fuck up. Jamming. Reminds you of anything? And I was like, I'm right there. Still not. One off. Jizz. is when I actually started enjoying playing. I was like, oh yeah. You can feel it.
Super Mario.
T. This activist, by the way, I promise. I'm God. Okay, my money way longer than a NASCAR race. I told her keep going on the gas for the brakes. Only here for one night, let me put it on your face. Let a nigga nut, only way I go to slay. Ruler rockin' on the Frank Mueller. I know some hoes with good head, fuck a tutor. So many hundreds, how the hell I'm gonna lose them? Put me in the jacket, on the rape, and now I'm cool. Play with my money, I'ma let a nigga do it. Play with my money, I'ma let the nigga do it. Play with my money, I'ma let the nigga do it. Play with my money. Play with my money. Play around my cat. Hit up in a body bag. In the store, did that. Pull up, I'm not a cab. She know she got a nigga bag. She know she gotta keep it back. She know I gotta keep me some cash. She know she gotta hop on top of dick. She know she gotta ride a motherfucker. Her mama done walked in, but it's too big, she can't hide the motherfucker. Even if she divided the motherfucker. Man, even if she minus the motherfucker. Join in, get the mileage, motherfucker. I ain't gon' disguise the motherfucker. Nah, shop at Sackfield, flow on that piff. Yeah, I'm that swift, ask her and him. Yeah, ask them, put them both on them. Put a choker on, let them choking on. All my tourists fall, yeah, they got it all. Daughter sexy and my son got the bra. Spit rats on my son and the squad. Daddy boy never played with toys. Man, I play with them boys. New AK with them boys. New fun sway with the boys. Driven all day for the boys. Bitch, you ain't ready for the boys. I'm in there ready for them boys. If you ever play with the boys, I'ma turn the blade on them boys. I do my head. I do my head. Say a slap. I do my head. Slap, slap. I do my head. Slap, slap. Okay, my money way longer than a NASCAR race. I told her keep going on the gas for the brakes. Only here for one night, let me put it on your face. Let a nigga nut, only way I go to slay. Ruler rockin' on the Frank Mueller. I know some hoes with good head, fuck a tutor. So many hundreds, how the hell I'm gonna lose them? Put me in the jacket, on the rape, and now I'm cooler. Hey, hey, watch that door. Watch, nigga plotting on the boy. Spot him, quit the target on the head. Dot him, dot him, dot him, boom. And I'm good, got a right foot in my wallet. Baby, bring it up. Then drop it. Juice a sit up. Then show you body. Got a bent up, out of sugar, grab a mallet. I carded it up like she ran to everybody. I do my hair. I do my hair. I do my hair. I do my hair. I do my money way longer than a NASCAR race. I told her keep going on the gas for the brakes. Only here for one night, let me put it on your face. Let